Hey, good morning. Dr. Fabian Garcia here, owner of Fabian Garcia Physical Therapy, along with Marissa Teo, assistant and FRC mobility specialist. So we're exploring now the mobility portion, intermediate series of the upper extremity. So Marissa's going to face that way so we can talk about the scapula. One of the problems with shoulder mobility is that there's no such thing as shoulder mobility. Why? Because you actually have to regain control and mobility at multiple different levels just for your arm to work in space. Your shoulder complex is an inherently unstable ball and socket on top of a bone that's actually not attached to the human body. It's one of three bones not attached to the human body. So you have a ball and socket on top of a floating bone, recipe for disaster. So what we first have to do is actually gain thoracic control. And after thoracic control for healthy joints, we have to get complete scapular control before we can then explore ball and socket control, elbow control, wrist control, finger control. So right now what we're going to explore is scapular control. Now with the scapula, one of the poorest ways to cue is to actually use a muscle to cue the motion desired. If you say fire rhomboids back, what a lot of people are going to do is actually fire the rhomboids back and get some type of motion that actually looks like that. That, my friends, is not scapular control. Scapular control means that we want to establish a relationship and control between two landmarks, two joints, the spine and the floating bone. So what we're first going to do is that we're actually going to explore how the scapula moves 3 times going clockwise, 3 times going counterclockwise. So Marissa's going to start by generating a little bit of force everywhere else in her body. She's going to start generating force to her feet, her quads, glute, stomach, just everywhere. And that's going to naturally spill over into the scapular region, concept known as irradiation, key concept in the system of FRC. Now what Marissa's going to do, now that she's nice and irradiated, globally tense, she's now going to shunt energy or tension into the scapula, and she's going to elevate it forward and she's going to roll back. And what she really wants to do is roll the scapular bone as far back on her spine as possible, bring it down, and then at this lower level, almost like a conveyor belt, glide it forward. As you can tell, she's not doing this. She's not substituting here. So she's going to do 2 in this direction, 2 in the opposite direction. There should be a nice sustaining of elevation and then dropping, so it looks more like a car being parked in a garage, so a little bit more linear. Then she's going to translate back and then drop. Outstanding. She's now going to go in the opposite direction. She's going to bring her back. Now we're going to bring the car and park it on the second floor, drive it forward, drop, and roll back. She's going to do 1 more of those scapular circles for me. Slow, controlled, with intention. Slow movement, sophisticated movement. Increases the quality of afferents going into the central nervous system. If your scapular clock looks too much like a clock, guess what? You're doing it wrong. It should be almost a linear quality as we are approximating the scapula, how it actually approaches the spine. Little details, again, just to review, nice and smooth. If there's too much of an overly circular motion right there on your scapular control, it's because you're doing it wrong. What you want is a sustainable elevation, very much traveling along the same plane so it looks more like a box. Going forward, going backwards. Awesome. Thank you for your time.